We love the cinematic story of the visionary founder, the lone genius who locks themselves in a dark garage for months, meticulously writing a business plan and building a secret product, preparing to release a masterpiece onto the world in a massive grand launch. The statistics tell a different story. If you attempt to launch a company using this traditional, secretive method, you will fail over 90% of the time. This failure happens because early-stage founders operate in a vacuum of extreme uncertainty. They lack definitive proof of who their actual customer is and have no data to suggest the problem they are trying to solve is something people will actually pay for. When every line item in a business plan is based on a guess about a customer you haven't met, it becomes a work of fiction. In this environment, a 50-page plan isn't a roadmap. It is a collection of untested assumptions masquerading as a strategy. To address this flaw in how new businesses are built, author and entrepreneur Eric Ries adapted the efficiency of Toyota's lean manufacturing principles. He realized that modern startups require a different set of rules to survive. Ries defines a startup as an experiment designed to find a viable business model. It is a research project where the primary goal is to discover what the market actually wants before the funding runs out. Look at this diagram. To survive the vacuum of uncertainty, founders have to abandon the fractured, straight-line approach of a traditional launch. They must replace it with a continuous, rapid feedback loop. The first phase of this loop is build. The natural instinct is to lock your engineers in a room and spend months polishing features. Hiding a way to over-engineer a product prevents the team from learning what the customer actually values. Instead, build a minimum viable product, or MVP. It is the most basic, unpolished version of your idea that still addresses the customer's primary problem. The goal of the MVP is specific. You are not trying to generate massive early sales. The product exists solely to trigger the feedback loop and extract raw behavioral data from the market as fast as possible. Once that basic product is in the hands of real people, you move to the second phase, measure. You have to track how customers are actually behaving, rather than what they say they will do in a survey. This visualization compares two types of data. The erratic spikes represent vanity metrics, things like social media likes, website hits, and free registrations. These numbers look impressive and satisfy a founder's ego, but they rarely indicate if a business is truly sustainable over time. When the noise of vanity metrics fades out, you are left with actionable metrics. These are the numbers that matter: retention rates, repeat purchases, and real revenue. These metrics expose whether your product provides actual value. Because early startups lack traditional profits, they need a completely different way to gauge their success. This is innovation accounting. Instead of tracking pure dollars, this dashboard measures how quickly your team is learning to adjust the product and improve those actionable metrics over time. Applying innovation accounting to actionable metrics protects founders from chasing phantom success. It forces them to face the reality of their progress. Facing that reality leads to the final phase, learn. This is where you synthesize the data to answer one question. Was your original hypothesis correct? If the data confirms your hypothesis, you have achieved validated learning. You now have mathematical proof that your startup has discovered a path forward. For an early-stage company, validated learning is the most valuable currency it can acquire. It is the only asset that tells you where to invest your next dollar. With that learning in hand, the loop closes. The founder stands at a strategic crossroads, deciding what to do with the truth the data has revealed. The first option is to persevere. If your actionable metrics are positive and customers are paying for the MVP, the strategy is proven. You keep the course and shift your focus to scaling the business. This flowchart illustrates the second option, the pivot. If the data reveals a flawed original hypothesis, the founder must change their strategy. The pathway sharply branches off to a new trajectory. A pivot is a change in strategy, not a change in the company's ultimate vision. On this chart, the final destination remains the same. The pivot is merely a more accurate roadmap to get there. Executing a pivot is a survival mechanism. It allows a startup to move away from a flawed idea before burning through its remaining capital. We see this mechanism in the history of the world's most successful apps. Instagram began as Bourbon, a complex location check-in application that failed to gain traction. Bourbon's founders measured their actionable metrics and realized users were ignoring the check-in features, but were using the app's photo filters. They pivoted, stripping away the check-in functionality to focus entirely on photo sharing. YouTube followed a similar path. It launched as a video dating platform. After watching actual user behavior, the founders realized the dating aspect was a barrier, but the video sharing technology was the real value. So they pivoted. This culture of continuous innovation applies to solopreneurs and Fortune 500 executives alike. It is a universal requirement for navigating a market that is constantly changing. Commercial success is rarely the result of avoiding failure on the first try. It is the result of spinning the feedback loop, testing your core assumptions, and failing as rapidly as possible until the data reveals the truth.